Bases dropped, and I almost caught myself. I almost messed it up again because, still trying to do all the overlays and learning all this kind of stuff. It would have been, we were this close to having another moment like that popping up right off the top of the show. So it's like the music's playing, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. I think I forgot to do something. But, yeah, I got rid of it just in time. So, morning, Bam. What is good is that you were here. That you're here. Yes, definitely. Life comes at you. That comes first. But we're glad you're here at 11:07 your time in the PM as you're getting ready for. You're getting that much closer to a grand final, and so we need a grand finals preview when we get to that. Wall Pass Wednesday. So bases dropped, and John here, Jarrett there. Couple of things this morning. Dylan Butler is going to join us at 10 o'clock. Geelong and Sydney grand final. Okay, cool. We're going to need all the reports possible when it comes to grand final. Couple of things this morning, and the 22 under 22 came out from our friends at Major League Soccer. We're going to go over that. Interesting, news out of the Premier League, where Bill Foley looks like he's chasing after Bournemouth and trying to add to the Americans that are in the coffers when it comes to investing in the Premier League. And anything on your mind, legitimately anything on your mind. And that's why this Wall Pass Wednesday is Wall Pass Wednesday. I mean, Jarrett could have something on his mind that I don't know about yet, and he could bring it up here in the first hour of the show. Like I said, Dylan Butler will be here at 10 o'clock. Tomorrow, remember, is a power hour where Barnabas Prime will join us at 9:30 to go over his preview of the men's national team heading into the window. Bart's probably going to be a very, very busy man when it comes to this show over the next week and a half. But Bart will join us at 9:30 tomorrow, and 9 o'clock on Friday. We will come back on and do our thing. We can actually do it at 9:05 because we don't have any weekend whipper on patent pending trademark coming because there are no matches this week. So we'll come back normal time, 9:05 on Friday, and that's your air traffic for this morning. But I wanted to start this morning off on the opening kickoff. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, there's your QR code for those of you watching on Twitch. I'll get my thumb out of the way. And right there, Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Once again, thanks to everybody who has been investing in Kickoff Coffee. You've been picking up your favorites. Like I said, the boss likes the darker blends, and she's been really enjoying what Kickoff Coffee has been producing. Use the code Soccer Down Here 15. You get 15% off, and then they will in turn take 10% and reinvest it in the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. But this morning and over the last couple of mornings, when we found out that Roberto Di Zerbi was going to be the new manager at Brighton, and, we've been doing our fair amount of research and looking at his past history. I knew of him immediately from his time at Shakhtar Donetsk with what he was able to do there. And, it's the very rare instance where you have a club that is successful on the European theater, and they're having to do with dealing with soccer in wartime. So De Zerbi did some fantastic things there. Not just necessarily as a coach, but, as an actual human being. And the stories are out there. I think the New York Times had a story where De Zerbi tried to make sure that his players were safe as human beings when the war started. And because of the war, he left his post there at Shakhtar because you didn't know if there was going to be a season. There eventually was. And Bam has been keeping us up to date on the Ukrainian Premier League there, too. But De Zerbi was in the marketplace, and he had conversations with Brighton, and Brighton was completely and totally impressed, as they should have been, the first time out in the first meeting, and they really didn't look anyplace else after they had their first meeting with Roberto Di Zerbi. But as always, new appointments, knives come out, those kinds of things. And our friends at TalkSport, and this is going to be a clip from the TalkSport's morning show yesterday. Smith and Jordan do the midday. Sorry. So Smith and Jordan do the middays at TalkSport, middays their time. And they brought in Graham Souness. And so Graham Souness, when he was asked about the hiring of Roberto Di Zerbi, said this on their air, and this is once again courtesy of our friends at Talk Sports. Smith and Jordan's midday show, Graham Souness, when he was asked about the hiring of Roberto Di Zerbi.
I think it's a risk. You're bringing someone in who doesn't know our game because of modern technology. You can Google. He said he was impressed with his knowledge of Brighton and what they've done and the way they attempt to play. Well, they could have got that off Google, most of it.
But it's his business to know the game here, isn't it?
So
they all do, Graham.
Listen, he's going for an interview, so he spends a couple of hours on the internet getting as much information as he possibly can. So that's not the work of a genius. I think it's a risk. I have to say, I think it's a risk bringing someone with his CV, the 7 jobs in 9 years. If you're an outstanding coach, then people want to hold on to you. It's a bit like being a player. If you're a player that had 15 clubs, 12 clubs, that's telling a lot about you. It's saying that people, if they want to keep you, they'll keep you because you're a really good player, a really good type round the place. You get someone. It's like when you spend a lot of money on a football player. Ideally, you want someone who's played in your league, scored goals in your league, been consistently very good in your league, no surprises, injury-free. So they're making an appointment with a manager who has no history of the English game.
But they get posted from Sweden.
But he's English. He was English, Jim. Doesn't know anything about the league. Doesn't know the players. And the question I asked about what football people are going to be at the club to help him, and he will need help. I think that's very important. That's a big risk.
Okay. I heard that the first time, and I legitimately had to hear it again. There were a couple of things that struck me as naive, and I'll just use that word out of the blocks. When you have someone who sit there and say he doesn't know our game, the game is the game. And the mere fact that you have the gall, the ego, the naivete to say that a coach who has been as successful as Roberto Di Zerbi has, with less resources than a lot of the folks in your game, took Sassuolo right to the edge of European competition, went to Shakhtar Donetsk in the Ukrainian Premier League, and did what you were supposed to do there. Continue to have them as a part of European competition. They won the local the country Premier League Cup. They won the Ukrainian Cup. But the gall and the naivete of someone like Graham Souness, he doesn't know our game. It's a risk with his CV, 7 teams in 9 years. And you can do research on Google. Frankly, after hearing something like that, Jarrett, I sincerely hope Roberto Di Zerbi kicks some serious ass with Brighton and shows Graham Souness about his game in England.
I mean, it's not uncommon, though. We hear it all the time in England, and we have it to an extent here. And you can play the idea of, well, it's different where we are versus where someone else is because of the way the mentality works with that. We talk about it, how would they handle coming to MLS, because MLS genuinely does have weird financial mechanisms that you have to deal with. England is a pain in the ass in terms of a lot of things. Not the shortest among them being the concept of dealing with the media. And it's a different animal. I mean, you want to call it something. I mean, we can compare it to the SEC if you want, or any of the Power 5 conferences if we want to go the football route.
Yeah, go for
because
it.
you're gonna be dealing with every little thing you do is going to be criticized. Every lineup choice, every 18. You're dealing with a more worldwide annoying media, I guess, for lack of a better word. As far as the style goes, man, I mean, the style, Sassuolo was a lot of fun when he was there. Do you want somebody who's, who knows it, who played in it? I mean, y'all cool with Pep now, right? And I know that was kind of dicey for a minute when we got into the flow. Y'all were gung ho for for Jurgen when Klopp got the gig. So it's not. I don't think it's ever really that simple. But it's weird too, because listening to them, like, they're Scottish. The Scottish have their own animal in all of this.
Yeah.
Because the Scottish league is stuck in its ways in a lot of ways about how they want to, unless you're managing an old firm team, they want you to sit.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to absorb and counter. And if you're running an old firm team, then yeah, you want to get out and beyond. Cool, go for it. But it's not unexpected in terms of the way the English talk about it, because it's different, and people are sometimes afraid of what's different.
Correct.
But at the same time, I don't think his style is going to be there. It's not going to be a radical style. There are people in England who are already doing that, so they can kind of pick their poison about what they want to get upset about. But I mean, they're not going to be the only. He's not going to be revolutionizing the game, turning it on its head with the way he plays. It's just, I guess, if it didn't play for us in the English league, or it's not English to begin with, then we're scared of it, because God knows we're going to keep going through it with Jesse Marsch, and Jesse Marsch is is a candidate for all of this because he's so willing to clap back about stuff. And he's going to have to be like that too, because you're going to have the thick skin to deal with the media in this league.
With De Zerbi, it was a logical extension of what Graham Potter had built, and De Zerbi, the financial constraints, he knew that. He dealt with that in Serie A. So you have that same kind of a thing with Brighton, but Brighton has done some fantastic investments in bringing in players and then selling them on. Cucurella, the most recent example of that, they tripled their investment with Cucurella, bringing him in for, I think, 17 and sending him on his way for 52. I think their last 3 players that they brought in, they've moved on for a total of, I think, £85 million. But so Brighton does good business. And Roberto Di Zerbi, in his past stops, has understood the constraints that are there. And philosophically, and what I would recommend is do your research and your digging. Just find some articles with Di Zerbi. There's a big deep dive in The Athletic and things like that. And it kind of pulls back the curtain a little bit on what De Zerbi wants to do. And so bringing in De Zerbi is a logical extension of what Graham Potter started at Brighton. And it's not like that he's doing something that is completely and totally, utterly shocking, that it's going to be putting Brighton on its heels and the Premier League just absolutely, completely and totally just agape with what he's trying to do. It's just how he goes about it. And the fact that Graham Souness says he doesn't know our game. What is your game? Hoofing it long? Yeah, if that's your game, I don't want to know your game.
No, but the English don't do that these days. I mean, the English play pretty style, which is what's kind of annoying about why he says it. Because it's not like England isn't Scotland. Scotland loves to hoof it long, man. England isn't necessarily that. So that's where I'm confused too. Is like, because it's not like our game. Your game in England isn't hoofing it long. Some of these English teams play some of the most beautiful styles you're going to find. So I don't know what exactly. I would love for him to expand upon that, because it's not hoofing it long. It's not playing negative, terrible games. Yeah, sure, you might get some teams at the bottom of the table that do that because they're trying to avoid relegation.
Right. But
most of the teams in England play pretty fun. So I'm very interested to know what exactly is, elaborate. Instead of just dog whistling, he doesn't play our style. Instead of just dog whistling that trash, man, expand on it. Explain to people so they understand where you're coming from, instead of playing this, quasi-isolationist BS comments about, he doesn't really understand what we do here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Don't be Judge Smales, man. Come on.
That's exactly where I was going when you broke out that
Bushwood. I mean, he is Rodney Dangerfield showing up at Bushwood, man.
Yeah, he is, absolutely. And so hopefully, when he brings in players, frankly, I hope that they're on the side of goodness, Danny. That's what I'm looking for out of Roberto Di Zerbi in his time at Brighton. But yeah, Graham Souness, elaborate, please. And if you're a host, follow up. Don't just let the statement go and sit there and accept it as absolute truth when it comes to that kind of stuff. So,
and the thing is, like, if you want to like say, hey, we got criticism for this guy, here's why. Because, okay, yeah, 6 places and what was it, 6 places in 8 years, something like that, or
7 and
whatever.
9, yeah.
7 and 9.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, for me, like, that doesn't bother me as much as it might bother other people, just because the way international managing goes. So few guys stay in one place. I'm not as bothered by that. But if a guy jumping around bothers you, okay, I can understand that, I guess. Like I said, it doesn't really bother me, but that's me. Yeah. Aside from that, though, like, elaborate. Like, is it okay? He did it at these places that don't, where the expectations were different, or if you think it's hey man, I'm worried that style might not work here because of you're trying to be a ballerina in a bull pit. Elaborate on it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just dog whistle the crap to, well, we don't like it, so it can't work.
Yeah. So
build on it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. Amateur side, Darfo Barrio. Then he goes to Serie C in Foggia and gets them almost promoted. Then Palermo, seeing this, picks him up. And then literally it was a handful of matches, had disagreements with the board, and 7 straight defeats in 3 months. And then Palermo's board was just like, see ya. Then Benevento and Serie B picked him up, and it was the newly promoted Benevento and Serie A. So that was going to be a tough situation going in. Got a lot of praise for his style, but eventually Benevento was relegated. So then after Benevento's relegated, you're not going to be spending the same amount of money on players and managers and such. And so then he's picked up by Sassuolo. And Sassuolo, once again, they just lose out on qualification in UEFA Conference League. And then he leaves at the end of 2021. Then he goes to Shakhtar, and he's kind of with a team in a war. So that's in a nutshell, that is Roberto Di Zerbi's career. A lot of praise for style, getting teams either on the verge of promoted or being in difficult situations where you're trying to stay promoted. You end up being relegated back to where you were. And then going from Sassuolo was where he made a lot of his managerial hay and a lot of respect in the European theater. Then he goes to Shakhtar, and now he's because of Shakhtar, it's a war, people. Then he
let's broach this topic then.
Sure.
One of the overarching themes here is getting close, playing beautiful, but getting close and not quite getting it across the Rubicon.
Right.
If that's your concern, just say it. Then just say, this guy plays a fun style. He'll fit in with he'll fit in. He'll find players in England that can fit his style. He'll have the budget to do it. But he has a history. But if you want to say he has a history of coming really close and it falling just short, then say that.
Yeah.
Because like I guess I can get behind that. If that's your idea, like if that's your idea that it's fun, but it might not bring trophies, or it might be fun, but then what if Brighton ends up like Norwich, where it's fun, but we're become a yo-yo club, and Brighton needs that money?
Yeah.
If that's your concern, then just say that.
Yeah. So I was profoundly irked by the comments of Graham Souness, and I'm glad that we went into it a little bit more in depth this morning, more in depth than Graham did. But that's our opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCo.com is the website. You can pick them up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And once again, reminder: use the code SoccerDownHere15 to pick up their darker roasts or whatever favorite coffee style that you have that they have. And you get 15% off your purchase, and they in turn take 10% and roll it over into youth initiatives. So very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, KickoffCoffeeCo.com. Emilio's saying, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Emilio's point. Yeah, I mean, some of these clubs are not financially stable.
Yeah.
That's something to always consider. We talk about it in South America all the time. It's a thing in Europe too, where some of these clubs, especially, you get into man, we'll have to talk to Nick about this, but some of those lower level Italian clubs, man, it's dicey.
Yeah,
it gets dicey real quick, and it can be kind of weird. If I mean that's good a reason as any sometimes to be making a move of, hey, I was here, why didn't you stay? Well, not only did we not have a spending budget, but we almost didn't have an existing budget.
Correct. And so I kind of had to get a paycheck, as did the players that were with me. So we need the Di Zerbi deep dive from Nick's perspective. Maybe we can get him to do a hot drop on that. Other stuff this morning, the 22 for 22 came out. And Shooter's already fired up. A week and a half to go. Shooter's in this morning early. Go Atlanta, beat the Revs 8-0. The sorry sacks of crap should be relegated to the Guantanamo Soccer League. Wow. Welcome back, Shooter. Hi.
I read that as Guatemalan. First of all, I'm like, Guatemala didn't do anything to you. Oh, never mind. This is deeper anger than I thought it was.
Yes, and Shooter, I think, is the league leader in deeper anger with his
fair enough
particular team. One more before we get into the 22 for 22. Matthew 777 Blue. England copied the top teams in the EPL. For example, since the success of Klopp, they played 4-3-3 high pressing. So if Di Zerbi ends up being successful with what he's doing at Brighton, I don't know. Our game might be a little different. Might be different when it comes to getting wins and losses and success. So we'll keep an eye on that. But all right, 22 for 22 came out yesterday. And I'm going to run through the list, and it was the top hits before we get into the list itself. 14 of the 22 players are from an MLS Next Academy. Average age of the list, just under 20, 19.86. 4 players, 18 or younger, and 3 players from Philadelphia. 4 other teams had 2 players. The age cutoff, the players had to remain 21 or younger before the end of the 2022 MLS regular season. Decision day, October 9th. They have to have been born on or after October 10th. So here's the list. And I'm going to go from bottom to the top. I'm going to go from 22, and I'm going to work my way up. 22, Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy from Toronto. 21, Bryce Duke with Inter Miami. Now with Inter Miami. We've seen him in other locales. 20, Jaden Nelson from Toronto FC. 19, Aiden Morris, Crew. 18, Ben Bender, Charlotte. 17, Efren Alvarez, LA Galaxy. 16, Thiago Andrade, NYCFC. 15, Obed Vargas, Seattle Sounders. 14, Leon Flock, Philadelphia Union. 13, Cesar Araujo from Orlando City. 12, Paxton Aronson from Philly. 11, Cade Cowell from San Jose. 10, Jack McGlynn, Philly. 9, Kwadwo Opoku from LAFC. 8, Ismail Kone from CF Montreal, Impact soon to be, probably, hopefully, maybe. 7, Alan Velasco, FC Dallas. 6, John Tolkien with Red Bulls. 5, Julian Araujo from the LA Galaxy. 4, Gaga Slanina in Chicago. 3, Talis Magno from NYC. 2, someone we all know, Thiago Almata from Atlanta United. 1, Jesus Ferreira from FC Dallas. It is the second straight time an FC Dallas player was at the top of the rankings. Ricardo Pepi was there in 2021. So, Bam, being our resident LAFCer, says that Opoku should have been in the top 5, to be honest. And Rack, really good prospects, and the list shows the level MLS has risen. Absolutely true. But, Jarrett, when you were looking at the list, and it was a legitimate point I thought that was raised, there's somebody in this list. I mean, legitimately, this list could be 25 or 30 individuals long, and I understand the kitsch of making sure it's 22 under 22 for the headline. But you mentioned someone that
it's Caleb Wily, y'all.
Yeah, somebody
has to get cut, and I think Caleb Wily is at the top of your guys who didn't make the 22, like 23 and 20 or 24 on your list.
The honorable mention.
Because Caleb Wily had to grow up a lot this year and did so. I'd have put him on there personally.
Mm-hmm.
They did not. That's not my call.
No.
But the cool thing about this list is that there are different names every year, and it keeps changing. So you're not getting the same guys like sitting on there for multiple years. Like you will get some guys who are, showing up there over and over again, but a lot of times it'll be different guys. And the awesome part for instance, the awesome part for Dallas is it's 2 straight years. It's been guys at the top who are 2 different guys at the top.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it points to the work that is done at the academy for Dallas.
Yeah.
It points to the work that they do. It points to what everybody is trying to get to. We've talked about this before that the Phillies and the Dallases of the world with their academy, with the MLS Next Pro, especially picking up the pace, those guys being problems for the future and creating problems for the future. And the fact that they're able to continue to do it is awesome to see. I've mentioned this before. I'm excited about the fact for Atlanta. You could potentially next year have a game, whether it's like Open Cup or God forbid you have more injuries, because I don't think I can take any more.
I don't think any of us can, no.
You could have a situation next year for Atlanta United where if you have a back line, 3/4 of the back line being homegrown with Wily, it could be Noah Cobb, it could be George Campbell. So you're not always going to have guys on these lists, but it's not about the list necessarily in that aspect. What it is about is continuing to develop guys, and hopefully you continue to do that, and every club continues to do it as well.
Kefsey, a legit point. Numbering these guys gives an unnecessary rank to what should be a group highlight. Yeah. I would, and I, if this was just a list for the sake of a list, I'd be like, yeah, cool. And like we said, Caleb Wily not in this list. Obviously, you probably would look
That's okay
at 22 and sit there and go, yeah, Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. I think Caleb Wily has done far more for Atlanta United because he has had to than a Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. And then you sit there, but that's the thing that I always say. It's like, all right, if there's a list, someone's coming in, who's coming off?
That's the thing about it. Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy hasn't been bad. It's tough to put together these lists, and it's good that it's getting tougher. Yeah. It's a good thing that it's tougher to put together these lists. It's cool to see guys like Bryce Duke on there, who was good for LAFC, and then just kind of like wasn't getting the time, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, because Bob Bradley, I think, when in his time at LAFC, had his list of guys, and he wanted to have the experienced guys. It was a very, very short bench for Bob Bradley. And there would be times where if a game was out of control, either good or bad, then that's when you would see Bryce Duke under Bob Bradley at LAFC more often than not. But it was a very short bench for Bradley. And the fact that Bryce Duke got to move on and be at Inter Miami, where we have seen him be an integral part of what Phil Neville wants down there. And so you see this talent, and they're getting the minutes. And I think that that's key to this as well, is getting the minutes to sit there and figure out, okay, who is on and who's not. My other element in this, Duke's biggest problem was that players were fit, so he didn't get a chance to play much. My other name on this list should either be lower or off is Obed Vargas from Seattle at 15. And the reason I say that, yes, Obed Vargas should be a part of a list, but because he has been injured for a significant part of this season, if you're trying to include him in a ranking, I think it's a little misleading to sit there. Yes, he should be a part of the 22 under 22. No question. Absolutely. But if you're trying to sit there and put him in a ranking situation because of the lack of minutes, because of injury, and because of impact, I would naturally have him lower in this situation when you're looking at a guy like when you're looking at a guy like Obed Vargas that is a part of this list. And so that to me is one of the larger elements in this. And, when you're making lists, that's what you have to sit there and take into consideration is, you're trying to rank folks and figure out, okay, who can go where, who can do what, and all this. And KFC, I think you're square on. I think you're bang on here. It just needs to be a list of individuals, not in any particular order. Do it alphabetically. And then that way everyone can sit there and go, okay, here's your list. And Obed Vargas might still be a part of it versus anyone else because of what you're seeing. But no, I think it should be a list. I think it should be alphabetical, and trying to rank folks, I think is, once again, it also, and I know that these kids are used to having, and that's what they are, considering that they're under 22. These young men are used to pressure at a very, very early age. And so you're looking at rankings and, why am I lower than this guy? Why am I higher than this guy? Why is he higher than me? Why is he higher than me? Why am I lower than so-and-so? I think that it probably, it adds that extra element of outside pressure, but you hope that these very talented young men can sit there and kind of sit there and understand it's a list and go and figure out what's going on. So let's see. I think that Zero Richie is oops. Let's see. I'm trying to sit here and yell at a bot. And so if everybody could help me out here, nothing like trying to do something live. Yeah, there we go. So that's a bot. KFC, I think you're right on. Should be a group highlight. KFC, just list the players who got X minutes and are under 22, I guess, is a thankless task for the sake of a segment name. I get it. True. And bam, if LAFC didn't bring in Chiellini, then Mamadou Fall would be in that list as he would have played more. True. And then, then, before Mamadou Fall's loan out, I would, you could probably make just as much of a play for Fall to be on the list with an asterisk. True. Can we settle on that? Could Fall have been on this list with an asterisk with the understanding of, okay, Fall has been loaned on? I would maintain that you probably should. But once again, it speaks to what we've seen here with lists that are like this. You're trying to sit here and just name names to get you to 22, when in reality there's probably 25 or 30 that could be on this under 22 under 22 list. And it should be a lot bigger. But at the same point that Jarrett was making, that the fact that you have this list and that there are different names on this list, it is the element in the room that I think is just very, very cool. Then taking step 2, Tom Bogert came in, and what he did is he and MLSsoccer.com spoke with technical staffers at various MLS clubs to get their anonymous thoughts on what they got right, what they got wrong. And the folks with it seems fairly unanimous that Ferreira, add metrics to say what they are. True. Seems like across the board, the anonymous voters thought that Ferreira should have indeed been number one. Then one club exec said he would have voted for Gaga Slonina. And once again, to the point that we've been making about this list in general, quote, depends on what we're using to measure this. If a player who has value, in which one of the richest teams in the world signed him, I'm trying to think of a rationale why that player wouldn't be number one. They could get any young goalkeeper in the world. They went and got Gaga. If it's solely a 22 performance and there's less variance in the list, it's Ferreira. But it's not just cut and dry. So there's a legitimate case for resale value. Absolutely. And remember, Slonina was sold. Chelsea's agreed to a deal with Slonina that is worth as much as $15 million, including add-ons. So that's big. So Slonina is at 15. And then folks were wondering, okay, who is likely to be sold for the highest transfer? And the follow-up from Bogert. Can anybody beat Slonina's potential 15? A lot of folks thought it could be Ferreira or Talles Magno, but the player to watch, seemingly unanimously, is Thiago Almata, understandably so, considering He's been called into the Albiceleste senior national team this month for their final pre-World Cup camp. 6 goals, 11 assists, 27 appearances this season, has a chance to make the World Cup squad, and he was signed for a $16 million deal from Vélez Sarsfield. So once again, anonymous individual. Quote, Almata could be sold for a lot of money, but the investment was the highest in the history of the league. He needs to come good, and we're seeing that he is. Players sold for the highest profit will obviously be one of the academy kids, Slanina, Ferreira, McGlynn, or Kone, who was brought in for small money. Talles Magno is a top talent, too. In general, you have to compare homegrowns with $15 million transfers. It's a little unfair, but it is what it is. So Thiago Almata is the one that is looking at for players to watch. Then what about other players who could move to Europe from the list? Almata was on it. Alan Velasco was on it. Velasco's at 6-6 and 25 appearances on that $7 million transfer from Independiente. Talles Magno from Vasco da Gama was $8 million in the transfer. Then you're looking at academy products. You're looking John Tolkien is one of those folks that was there. Everybody from the Philadelphia list is on that idea. Aronson, McGlynn, and Flock could have had as many as 6. And once again, it goes to the size of the list. Philadelphia, if you had expanded the list past that 22 for the sake of a headline, you could have added Quinn Sullivan, Nathan Harriel, and Brandon Craig. So there's a lot of folks who were thinking that the list should be bigger. Okay, biggest snubs. Daniel Edelman was being looked at. Jean Duran is now coming good from Chicago. He's another one that's on that list. So I would have said that Jean Duran would have been one. Danny Leva's on the list as well as a possible snub. Other possible snubs, Ralph Prizo in Colorado, David Ayala from Portland, who I thought was going to be one of the more interesting players to keep an eye on this year. Melanda is there as well. It's Charlotte. Obed Vargas on the list. Josh Atencio, João Paulo, Christian Roldan. So once again, the key in this, yes, we looked at the headline 22 under 22. And I think that with the conversations that Tom Bogert had at MLSsoccer.com, the list could have easily been 30. 30 guys under the age of 22 that are doing really well here in Major League Soccer. And frankly, that's a very cool thing when you're seeing all of this. And then Caleb Wily not being on it for those who are Atlanta United fans. And then I can, if Noah Cobb continues to progress next year or two, I would anticipate that Noah Cobb would be on this 22 under 22 list as well. So, we'll keep an eye on it, but I wanted to bring that up, and we'll talk to Dylan Butler about it in about 15 minutes to see what he says about it as well. We want to catch up with Dylan about the weekend that was. We're going to catch up with him about national team, considering that that's coming up here in 48 hours or so, more like 46 hours, 45. We'll catch up with Dylan about that. Maybe we'll drop in the 22 under 22 just to kind of get his thoughts just in the overall about what's been going on. But Dylan Butler will join us in 10 minutes, and we'll 15 minutes at the top of the hour, and we'll go over everything that is on his mind on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Once again, you guys got stuff you want to talk about? That's what we're here for. It's friendlies. It's a whole lot of things that are going on. And I know that we wanted to get into the Guardian article where it appears that Bill Foley looks like he wants to chase after Bournemouth. And it's, once again, it's not a surprise. You're looking for folks who are interested in investments, and it looks like Bill Foley is one of those folks. And so, it is something that is seen in the sense of how folks look at investments these days. And you're looking at a guy like Bill Foley who saw what he wanted in hockey in Las Vegas, and now you're seeing Bill Foley completely and totally interested in Bournemouth. And I think that it's a really interesting notion here that you're looking at. So here's the skinny on Foley. In talks to purchase the club, provided a 523 million euro credit facility for Textor's bid to buy Lyon. And it's a potential sale of about 150 million pounds. And that would mean if Foley is successful in this, More than half of the Premier League clubs have minority or majority U.S. shareholders. He's chairman of Fidelity National Financial, for those that don't know, and the investment company Kenne Holdings, understood to have been exclusive negotiations with Maxim Demin last week over a potential deal for the club. And for those of you that might remember the transfer window, there really wasn't one for Bournemouth. It's like looking about freeze and trying to figure out how to bring in folks without not having to spend any money. And you're seeing right now, after the start that Bournemouth has had, that they really do need some investment. Demin has been the sole shareholder at Bournemouth since 2019 when he repurchased a 25% stake he sold to Peak Six Investments. And Demin is believed to be open to selling after appointing a U.S. firm to identify buyers and investors. Foley owns 70% of the Vegas Knights and brought them into existence back in 2017. He signed a non-binding letter of intent. This is back in June with John Textor, and providing the credit facility to help out with the takeover of Lyon. Textor, already a co-owner at Crystal Palace, majority shareholder in Botafogo. And so that's where you're looking right now. So Todd Bowley buys Bowley Clear Lake and Bedadig Bali. They bought Chelsea for $4.25 billion. They've also announced another round of financing to work on the facilities around Stamford Bridge. So you're looking at United, City, Arsenal, Villa, West Ham, Fulham, Leeds, Liverpool, Chelsea. That's your investment right there on the scale. So that's what you're looking at with Bill Foley. And Bill Foley saw something in the desert and with Vegas, and he has been more than happy to hop on that. And it has been an absolute success from day one. Getting a ticket for anything Vegas Knights, anything Vegas Golden Knights in the National Hockey League. You're trying to get into that show, and that's what it is. It is a show. It is a Vegas show from the absolute beginning. Foley wants to win. They're right up against the cap every single time, and he has not stopped in that idea. He wants to bring a Stanley Cup to Vegas and has been investing in that ever since the absolute beginning. They were close, and they've really spent well. They've spent right up against the cap to try to bring in all those veterans, but they haven't quite won it yet. They haven't won it yet. So you see that kind of investment and that drive and desire from a guy like Bill Foley. Wouldn't surprise me if Maxim Demin ended up selling for the 150, and if it's 150, that is a bargain when it comes to stuff in the Premier League, because it's one of those yo-yo clubs right there in the top 25. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in this negotiating window with Bill Foley and seeing if he ends up getting the majority interest or if he ends up getting it all 100% from Maxim Demin. And we'll see what the next steps are for that. We'll see what the next steps are for Bournemouth in the Premier League going forward. KFC, 2 other points. Caleb and Mosquera get together on those killer final passes. Caleb will be there soon. And Edwin, forgot he's 21. So, Edwin would have to be on the list pretty quick. He'd have to be on the list for this year, for next year, before he turns 22. So if he's a young 21, he's got a chance to be on the list next year if he continues to improve. And I like what I'm seeing from Edwin Mosquera. That was why I wanted to ask Gonzalo Pineda after the last match, after the Philly match, what it's been like for him to see Mosquera integrate. What has he liked about his growth, to where initially with a guy like Edwin, it literally was something where, okay, go out there and you've got fresh legs, go run and do something, go create for 10 or 15 minutes. And now you're seeing Edwin's time get a little longer, and you're seeing what Mosquera can do. And he should have had that goal last time out. Should have. And you're really hoping for that for him very, very soon. Rack, you're right on. Edwin is seriously lightning in a bottle fast. You are not kidding. And to bring him in and have him just be that guy. I mean, if you're a defender and if you're dog tired, if you are really hanging on there in the last 10 or 15 minutes, and then you see Edwin Mosquera coming in, your first reaction, if you hadn't known, if there wasn't any scouting, you're like, A, who is this guy? And then B, you're sitting there and Edwin is just running past you and running past you and running past you and running past you the entire time. And you're having to chase that for 10 or 15 minutes. Now you're having to chase it for 20. Now you're having Edwin's game evolve, and you're having it grow, and he's integrating into what Gonzalo Pineda is looking for in players to come in and give you that 20 or 30 minutes of lightning in a bottle. Having him for 10 or 15 and just have him run like hell is one thing, but now that you have him integrated and continuing to become more and more familiar with what Gonzalo Pineda wants him to do, to work on those relationships on the left-hand side with a Caleb Wily or an Andrew Gutman. You're seeing the interplay and the connections starting to build with Edwin Mosquera, and I think that it's been a fun evolution to see with what we're seeing with Mosquera. And so once again, you've got a lot of young talent for Atlanta United, and the point that Jarrett made, where it could be a back line of, you're looking at what, Gutman, Wily, Campbell, possibly Noah Cobb, Brooks Lennon, have that as a back five next year at 100% healthy. Yeah, I think that I'd dig that. That's pretty cool. So that's part of what you're looking at. And once again, we'll talk to Dylan Butler coming up in about 8 minutes or so. When Dylan comes in, and we'll talk about everything going on the week that was in Major League Soccer and everything else going on in MLS. One other thing that I wanted to get into, having to do with Chelsea. It's like a lot of our news has to do with Chelsea today. It's either funding or everything else that has been going on with Chelsea in and of itself. But so this came from Matt Law at the Telegraph, and we'll keep an eye on this. It's an exclusive that Matt came out with late yesterday afternoon. Chelsea sacked their commercial director, Damian Willoughby, for sending a string of inappropriate messages, in quotes, to a football finance agent that put a proposed multi-million-pound investment project at risk. Chelsea confirmed in a statement to Law and to the Telegraph. Willoughby had been working at the club less than a month. He was dismissed before being employed there for the second time in his career. The complaint was made by finance agent Catalina Kim to Tom Glick, the president of business, who hired Willoughby. Kim said that she had been sexually harassed before his employment by the club, alleges she felt threatened over the telephone while he was working at Chelsea. The sacking of Willoughby, who started work for Chelsea in September, having previously been employed at Stamford Bridge between 2007 and 2010, comes 3 months after the club's new owners promised to, quote, instill a new environment consistent with our values. Chelsea then came out with a statement saying that Willoughby had been fired with immediate effect. And not going to go into too much further detail, but if you want to continue to look at the research that Matt Law and the Telegraph have done, it is there. The talks had stalled since Tom Glick had added Willoughby, and he'd worked with him at Manchester City. And the negotiations prompted Catalina Kim to raise her concerns about the inclusion, and it continues to go from there. So part of the front office that was there less than a month for the second time in his career, sacked by Chelsea. So a senior executive sacked by Chelsea after claims of sexual harassment and inappropriate messaging. So that is where we are. Rome, Georgia got an AFL Grand Final party. That's interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one too. Let's get into, for the 5 minutes before Dylan gets here, let's get into what's going on today and keep an eye on all of the activity. You've got stuff going on right now, obviously, in the lower divisions in England. Champions League Women has already started. Zurich is a 2-0 lead on Sarajevo's women at a minus 208. You've got the Euro 19s going on. Once again, a lot of stuff going on in Eastern Europe right now with the U19 tournament. Champions League Women kicks off again at 11:30 with St. Polten, a minus 105, going up against KUPS. Champions League Women at noon. Your favorites, Rosengard, in their match with Brann. Real Madrid, a big favorite against Rosenborg. Vorskla Poltava in theirs against an Albanian side. Champions League at 12:30. Roma, big favorite against Sparta Prague. Once again, you've got a lot more activity going on starting in Central America early afternoon. Valur from Iceland, a favorite in Champions League women at 1 o'clock against Slavia Prague. I think you can catch this on their YouTube channel. Lower divisions going on in Belgium and England and Europe that carries you into middle of the afternoon. PSG, big favorite against Hacken at 2:30. Scotland and Ukraine in Nations League. This officially kicks stuff off with the rounds of friendlies, and the juice box purveyors have pretty much have thrown a blanket over it all. Scotland a plus 172. Your draw is a plus 209. Ukraine is a plus 179. World friendlies going on. San Marino's a favorite against the Seychelles. How about that? Will San Marino score? That's the other question. Liga Premier in Mexico at 5. You have Central America, South America with their activity going on in the early evening. You have NWSL tonight. Rain on the road at Gotham, a minus 244. Gotham has lost a boatload of matches in a row at a plus 566. North Carolina Courage at Orlando's a minus 139. Orlando Pride is a plus 313. USL Championship in the midweek. Hartford Athletic, who since they've hired Tab Ramos, has really rocketed up the table. They're a plus 112 at Loudoun United at Segra. And Detroit City needs full points tonight. They're at Montclair taking on Red Bulls 2. Detroit City's a minus 256. Red Bulls 2 are a plus 568. The Leagues Cup is going on tonight, listed as a club friendly in the juice boxes. FC Cincinnati at 706 is a minus 115 as Chivas visits at a plus 265. Your 90-minute draw is a plus 260. You've got South America activity going on. Premier Division and friends from Alajuelense are a big favorite at home. Also at 9 o'clock, the second half of the doubleheader, Nashville's a plus 135, and that's changing. It's now a plus 133 as we're even talking about it, as Club America visits at a plus 174. Your draw is a plus 237. Late night in WSL, Thorns are a minus 244 against Racing Louisville, who are almost a plus 600. USL League One, Northern Colorado at Severance High School taking on Union Omaha. They're a favorite, which I find interesting, at a plus 138. Union Omaha, a plus 175. NWSL After Dark at 10:30. Angels City, a favorite against Washington Spirit at a plus 137. Monterey Bay at a minus 105. And USL Championship at Cardinal going up against Phoenix Rising at a plus 215. League One in Fresno, late night. USL League One After Dark. Central Valley Fuegos a plus 172 as Forward Madison comes to town at a plus 127, and your draw is a plus 252. So that is your juice boxes as we head into what is going on. And since it is the top of the hour, I'm going to go ahead and read the promo as we wait for Dylan Butler to wander in for his normal Wednesday visit. And we turn down the volume on the background music so it doesn't completely and totally overshadow the promo. SDH brought to us by our friends at Eliminize Service. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Eliminize. They deodorize enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Eliminize offers a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that these days. A very green way of going about your investment without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever to get rid of those odors. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents, because when you reach into the cupboard or underneath the sink and you pull out that masking agent and spray it into the air, that's why they call it a masking agent, strangely enough, because that's what you're doing. You're masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like Eliminize does with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy by cubic feet or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website over my left shoulder, eliminize.com. Do us a favor here at SDH. Add /Atlanta after that so they know what part of the world that you are attacking, that you are asking them to attack your problem from, to end a sentence in a preposition. ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta. Eliminize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Slow fade the background music, although it won't register as such. I thought I did, but you know what that means. It's Wednesday, so I get to do this. Hardest working man in show business, Dylan Butler. Dylan, what is up on a Wall Pass Wednesday? It is your standard visit here on a Wall Pass Wednesday. What outside of the purview of normal talk is on your mind? Is there anything, is the 3-hour Law and Order mega event on your mind on a Wall Pass Wednesday?
It probably should, but it's not yet. I have a question for you when we start. I popped in during your read.
That is true.
Did you say that pet cigarette, like, is that it like pets are smoking?
Oh, sorry. I was slurring everything and eliminated all punctuation in that read. So it's pets, comma, cigarettes, comma, food.
I thought it was when pets and their cigarette smell. And
well, maybe
there are monkeys that apparently smoke. I've seen that on the interwebs.
And so, I mean, I'm right there with you. I have never known an animal to partake in any kind of, I don't know if they like Marlboro Reds, if they like cigars, if they dig Pall Mall, or if they're, if they like a good Cuban cigar or maybe
like an old school pipe.
Yeah. And so that is a good question. If anyone in the Twitch pitch or listening later on your favorite podcatcher has any empirical evidence of animals that may be your pets that are actual smokers, then let us know, because that is something that it is a burning question on a Wall Pass Wednesday that Dylan Butler has.
Well, and the folks at Illuminize can take care of that.
That is absolutely true. See, Dylan is down with the promo reads. He sees how it steers. Well done.
Yes.
I know that we wanted to talk about a couple of things this morning. We wanted to talk about, and I guess we can just work backward and come forward. When it comes to the weekend that was, what sticks out in your mind?
Weekend that was.
The weekend that was. I feel like I need a sounder or a drop or something.
Yeah, right. I mean, if there was a bunch of things, but I think at the forefront is the seemingly resurgent NYCFC now, right? Where we said it even in this same spot literally a week ago that Campeones Cup could be the launching off point, for them, an opportunity to play in, for whatever you want to argue about it, how meaningful it actually is. There was a trophy on the line, and you could see, if you watch that match, how hard both teams played. And I was there, and you could smell the bubbly and all that kind of fun stuff right outside the locker room. So you knew how much it meant to NYCFC. And even even Nick Cushing had said after that match, to play in a match like that should definitely help them going forward. And they did. I mean, look, they scored another early goal that maybe that's part of their formula, and Alex Callan's early goal, because it worked out in both matches.
Absolutely. And
then a 2-0 win over the Red Bulls, a big win for them. There was I never thought they were truly in danger of missing the playoffs, but they weren't trending the right way. So right. I think that they righted the ship. And I don't think too late either. Like, I think they've got 2 matches left. They've got Orlando at Red Bull Arena, and then they're at Atlanta. So good opportunity there to maybe pick up some more points, hold off maybe the charge of Orlando to get that home playoff spot, and wherever that might be. Because now the Mets have made the playoffs as well. And the Yankees are making the playoffs, and the Red Bulls are in the playoffs. So yeah. Interesting times in the 5 boroughs, but nonetheless, I think it was a big win. And derbies always have those fun sort of talking points as well. And I think one of the more fun ones was Gerhard Struber basically saying they would definitely win that game. He said it was crystal clear that they would win that match. And Not so much on a crystal clear day at Yankee Stadium. So I think that was certainly one of the things that stood out to me. And I got to say too, it's hard. Look, I know that there's a beer sponsorship involved with rivalry games in MLS.
Yes.
But for me, if you're going to have teams play twice in a regular season and those games are always so important, have at least one of them late in the season, right?
Yeah.
Like where there's so much on the line as well, not just a derby. Like I hate to see derbies end like in July.
Yes.
You know? Like let's have something in late September, early October, to where there's more than just bragging rights on the line.
And I'm absolutely right there with you. And since this is a Wall Pass Wednesday and you're enjoying, so which mug do you have with you this morning?
This was a gift from a family friend. There's two of these. This one is blessed. Let's see. I'll turn it this way. This one is blessed.
There you go.
Blessed.
There it is. Since it is a Wall Pass Wednesday,
blessed to be with you.
Yeah, Souness, exactly. Since you mentioned NYCFC and Stadia, is there any update whatsoever on the stadium situation in Dylan Butler's favorite location for NYCFC?
No. There was some chatter that maybe there would have been an announcement a month or so ago. Not yet. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Certainly their current status is pretty untenable.
Right. And it seems like it's a continuing point to continue to ask. It's like I feel like I need to ask it because it seems to fly below the radar a lot, and then all of a sudden it bubbles up and pops up and explodes, and it's like, oh crap, there's something going on that we need to talk about.
That's also kind of the way that City Football Group works, like where you hear nothing, and then there's a giant explosion of news. So hopefully sooner than later with that.
One of our favorite listeners / viewers is a fan of the blue team at the other end of the park in the derby that is posted over your left shoulder. Okay. And he is asking, Dylan, kindly remove that offensive red scarf over your left shoulder. That'd be great. Thanks.
I'm equal opportunity. And actually next to it, turn it this way. I got, well, you see my laundry there too, but I got,
yes.
That's a Cosmos, the pink one is a Cosmos breast cancer awareness month one. And then right next to it is New York. What was it exactly again? FC New York, which was it had about a window of like 5 minutes as a club.
Wow. What was the FC New York plan? What was their grand idea?
They had like a press conference at a New York City hotel. Like they were spending money seemingly. I think they too had a stadium plan. They did play, I remember they did play like the Red Bulls during the Open Cup. Short-lived FC New York. But I have the scarf to prove that they were in existence.
Yes, and that is what matters, especially God, man, I could sit here. It's like, so what's in existence? I would be here for an entire show showing what's in existence for everything here. I'm trying to think.
But then like a lot of the other ones I have are places that I have been. Like I've been to Swindon and Liverpool and
very nice
and Reading. Yep.
See, Swindon. That's a good pull. That is a good obscure pull. I will grant you that one. That's very, very
good. So since it is what is it? Wall Pass
Wednesday.
So which you need to get sponsored clearly.
Absolutely.
Quick story about Swindon. So, geez, I don't know. It's more than 10 years ago. Went to England and went to different stadiums. And as I have the scarves again, right? Like I went to Reading when Marcus Hanneman was their goalie and Bobby Convey was in their midfields. So went to Swindon, and a guy that I went to St. John's with, who I covered, was Stefani Miglorenzi, who had a bit of a career at MLS, played for LA, Columbus, Philadelphia at the tail end of his career. but he was at Swindon, so I went. Got a credential. Went to his match. It was a derby match for them. They won. Was on with him. He was man of the match. So I was just hanging out with him and talking to him, and the champagne bottles were coming in from sponsors because again it was a televised match. Fast forward to the next day, I get a call saying that BBC Swindon wanted to have me on because I was this American at the match, and why was I there, and what are my thoughts on Swindon and the English
That's tremendous.
Football. So it was pretty interesting. I got to go to Newcastle, obviously, a Reading match, Swindon. I'm not sure if there might have been another one, but I toured Anfield. Yeah, it was great. It was fun times.
The suggestion from Bam, who is our resident Australian viewer, Derby Day, deadline day for the second one.
I like the idea. I don't think it'll ever happen, but that would be amazing, right? To have a derby on decision day. It's a lot of D's there, but I love it. I think decision day on its own is so crazy with all the different possibilities that I think the league just likes that on its own. But I'm with you, Bam. I'm all for it. Let's make it as meaningful as possible, right?
Yeah, being the team that stops your crosstown rivals not making the playoffs on the final day would be amazing.
Oh my God, that'd be incredible.
So you and Bam, schedule makers, make it happen.
I wish if I was the schedule maker for a day, that would be a suggestion that would likely get turned down, but I would certainly make it.
When we look at the standings right now, heading into the weekend where that no one is playing.
Not no one.
Not no one? Wait, so who do we have?
We have a Cali Classico on Saturday night.
Oh, next matches. Wait a minute. Hang on. I'm going to click my next matches.
Speaking of derbies.
There you go. Sports Center's next. I'll be damned. San Jose and LAG are this weekend. And you look at the standings right now, and obviously San Jose is I don't know if they'll get wooden spoon, but they're in contention. I mean, DC United looks like they might, have the handle on the wooden spoon with 2 matches to go. LAG right now, I don't know what to think, because you look at where things are, and there's technically, if you want to get into it, you've got 7 points separating 8 points separating 8 points separating 8 teams, but really for that final playoff spot where LAG is right now, they've lost 3 of 4. Then you've got RSL, who did the Eastern Conference no favors, everybody chasing the playoffs with their loss to FC Cincinnati. They're both at 43 points. Vancouver's at 40, Seattle and Colorado 39. Colorado would really have to win out and get a lot of tiebreakers to get any kind of chance there. But when you look at LAG, what do you see right now? I just see chaos and confusion. And do we even sit there and raise an eyebrow at the future of Greg Vanney?
I hope not. To be honest, I think he's I don't know how much of a hand he had in player selection. I suspect he had a bunch. It wasn't over his head, surely, right? So he was in the room when it happened. But yeah, obviously some moves went wrong. They're not playing. I mean, he outlines it pretty much every week on exactly the way that he wants to play and what he's seeing, and he's honest in his press conferences. That is for sure. But clearly, there's a few players that they value that they're not getting anything out of, right? So
Cabral and Costa 1 and 2.
But on the flip, the move for Ricky Puig could not have been better, right? So you hang your hat on that, and what a godsend he has been for them, right? I mean, probably the only reason that they're even in contention right now for the playoffs is because of what he's done and his playmaking abilities and scoring big goals as well. He's been so much fun to watch for them, and a massive help too for their attack, for their forward line. Whether it's Chicharito or Djokovic. So here's the thing for them. This match, this like lone match, you don't even assign it a week. It's only the one game.
Yep.
Is their match in hand on everybody else that's around them, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is their chance to get, if they get 3 points here, right? Like they would be even with Portland on points, and Portland is in 5th, right? So they would jump over Minnesota. They create a little more space at the playoff line. So it's all to play for the Galaxy. They need to get this game. Obviously, San Jose just playing for spoilers at this point, but a huge one for them. I think, I know this changes week by week, which is just the nature of MLS, but looking at the table, like I'm not still sold on I think Minnesota's certainly trending the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think Portland has done enough, right? I think they'll stay up. I do think LA will stay up. And here comes Vancouver again, man. Like from the dead. They just seem like that team now that will, again, on decision day, like get like a 93rd minute winner from Ryan Gold or something like that, and suddenly they're in the playoffs, and their coach is drunk on the podium or something. So
wearing the Couch Ultras T-shirt again.
Yeah, right.
And then by the time that we come back together next week, the other match in hand with Seattle and Cincy is wiped off the board. And I think this was a CONCACAF Champions League reshift.
I believe so. Yeah, and there was another one too that was like a schedule, a rain out one, right? Or that comes right before decision day. There was like a Miami Orlando, I want to say.
Well, I thought that was the one that got pushed because of U.S. Open Cup final.
Oh yeah, right. I just assumed it was weather.
Yeah, well, yeah, you and me both. But you've got those that will get everything right as rain, to borrow that phrase. But I mean, Seattle, when they have their match in hand, if they win, they get to 42, and it's their 13th win, which is just as important. The sheer number of wins that you have, considering that's your first tiebreaker and not goal difference. And I'm just going to leave that one alone, because we would continue through your allotted time, sir, in discussing why that's your first tiebreaker and not goal difference. But that's just me. Seattle could do the East a bit of a favor if they take care of business against Cincinnati and make sure that Cincinnati doesn't continue to go up the table and keep them as drawn in as close to that gaggle in the East chasing after that 7th playoff spot.
I will say this, if it's decision day and Seattle have a chance at all, I don't want to be any of those other teams in the West that are anywhere near them, right? Like they're like that ghost. You just like, no, like the Michael Myers, like you see him across the street, like, no, like that's scary. If I'm any of the, I want them dead and buried before decision day. I don't even want them to have an opportunity, even the slightest opportunity to have a spot at a chance to make the playoffs, because they obviously having done it for 13 years, they just find a way somehow. So if I'm Salt Lake, Vancouver, LA, probably Minnesota at that point, I'm not. I want that big E or the little. I guess a little case. That's a little E.
You want the little E that's on soccer.com. Have you ever seen a season in your coverage / fandom of MLS that has been as nuts as this one is / could be, considering the final 2 weeks of the season and where things are and chasing after playoff spots?
No, I don't think so. I think there's drama all up and down the table, right? Like we don't have a Shield winner, and I feel like the last couple years, at least, that's pretty much been in the bag, right? Like at this point, like New England ran away with it last year. That wasn't even a question. So at the top of it, there's that intrigue, right? And then even if the top spot in each conference is set, there's still teams jockeying for home games. And again, with the change in format, and that could be a whole, another story, a whole other show that we would have. But with the change in format, with it being a one-off, it's massive to have that game at home, right? So much to play for to get a top 4 spot, and then at the bottom, again, so many teams still alive and fighting with 2 matches left, 2 to 3 matches left in the regular season. So no, I haven't seen that, and I feel like with expansion and with the more parity that appears to be in this league, like I think that's only going to continue, right? Like it's gonna St. Louis coming in next year. I think that just it'll be the same way, right? Like or even more drama late in the season.
And obviously that's something it's very cool for those of us who cover it and those of us who watch it. But those who are in offices behind closed doors are sitting there with their hair and they're going like this for the remaining couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, not fun for like an Adrian Heath.
No. So then, all right. So then you mentioned Adrian Heath. Let me ask you this. Yes, he just signed that massive contract. Is that contract too big if Minnesota falls off a cliff? Is that contract renewal too big to let him go along the same lines as a Greg Vanney if Minnesota falls off a cliff?
Yeah, I would. I was surprised at that extension because I would have said he's a coach on a hot seat.
Yeah.
So that did surprise me, and I would think again if they don't make the postseason, he could point to a bunch of different reasons, but to me, injuries really shouldn't be an excuse if you build up the depth on your roster, and I don't think they've been a deep team, right? So yeah, I would think he would have a pretty hot seat. I was trying to think of others who may or may not. I would only put. I hope that Vanney's not there, just because I like him as a manager, but I could see him being there because of the city that he's in and because of the stakes that are there between those two teams, right? And because of the nature of being the manager of the Galaxy, right? Like there's a history of winning there. We've talked about Vermees before. I don't think he would be, and plus their turnaround late in the season, I think shows there's still work to do in the offseason clearly, but they're trending in the right way late in the season. So I think he would be fine.
What about Bruce?
I think it's up to him. I don't think he'll be shown the door, but I think it's up to him. Like if he doesn't want it, he'll step down, but I don't think it'll be one of those parted ways.
No, I figured it would be Bruce's decision if Bruce just gets frustrated enough and he just walks a piece of paper up, throws it in the garbage, and it's like, yeah, I'm done. Got 6 minutes and 2 other topics that I wanted to get into before you go. The 22 and then the USMNT. I wanted to get into before we go. Then we got into it in the first hour of the show when we got into the list. We spent a good 20 minutes on just the concept of the list. And I get the idea that it's 22 under 22. Ergo, you've got to have 22 names. But folks that are watching us this morning, we're sitting there going, Caleb Wily was an omission. And, personally, I was looking at Caleb being swapped out for Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. And I was questioning Obed Vargas, considering he's been injured for most of the year. Yes, he's been great when he's been in, but the body of work because of his injury hasn't been there this year. What did you think about, I guess, A, the list in general, and then B, the idea of rankings instead of just doing something alphabetically where really your list could be 30 long?
It could be for sure. I think 22 under 22 is a tough one because you're not, and it even says it too, right? Like the rankings aren't based on just how they're playing this season, right? And I think that's where a Marshall-Ruddy comes in. It's also based on the potential sale, and interest overseas, and he's had that certainly. Not that Wily hasn't, he has as well. They turned down a deal, right, for him that was even bigger than a possible the transfer for Bello. So I could understand Atlanta fans being a little bit irked at that, but I think there being different rules and what makes a 21 to 22. I think there's a lot of gray area there, and I think that's where the debate comes in. I think, right? So I could see those guys being there. As far as the numbers, it's super hard.
Yeah.
You might have a consensus one, which I think Ferreira was, right?
Yeah. But some folks they were talking to Tom Bogert in the anonymous chamber, and somebody said Slonina.
Yeah, I mean,
because of the sale to Chelsea and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you go across like the different categories to make the list, I think Ferreira probably checks off more boxes, right? He certainly had a better year than Slonina.
Yeah.
Regular national team guy, right? He's going to be likely the starting number 9 when they take on Wales on November 21st. So I have no problem with Ferreira. And for me too, like my initial thought was I felt like Slonina was rated too highly, but again, he's going to Chelsea. Clearly not going to play right away. He's going to be loaned out and get minutes, and he's one for the future. But it's hard to argue with, where he's rated for his age group, right? Which is pretty much at the very top in the world. So I think when you're that highly rated, you deserve a high mark in the 22 and the 22.
And then Thiago Almata, with what he's been able to show folks this season at number 2 in Atlanta United, folks really looking at Thiago Almata and his future as well. Okay, before you go,
hope he performs well with. I hope he gets a chance to play. And hope he performs well with Argentina. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely hopes he crushes it. USMNT, before you go, that is a very, very early start Friday morning. So I guess when I look to my left, I'm going to be looking to my left a lot because that's where my big monitor is here in the office. What are you looking at with this bunch, with this first match? What are you looking at really with this first match out here in the September window?
Yeah, I mean, there's still questions for positions, right? And this is something I wrote for osdbsports.com. Just sort
Excellent plug. There you go. Nicely done.
Looking at this window and who's got the most to prove, right? And obviously the number 9 spot's still wide open. I think Jesus Ferreira has the upper edge, right? Because when you hear Berhalter's comments about what he wants in a number 9, he's even said that Jesus ticks all those boxes. I think a Josh Sargent has really played well of late. So I think this is a big camp for him, right? Like, could you be that second striker? Are you the first guy off the bench? Was surprised at the Pepe versus Pifok move there.
Yeah.
But, Berhalter's been pretty consistent with what he's liked out of Pepe, even though he's not in form. He has just scored his first goal though for his new team. So, I think this I would imagine Berhalter is hoping this is a chance for him to get energized. I think guys on the outside backs, right, like Vines and Scally, depth pieces there, right, with Dest and Jedi Robinson, but injuries happen, so you want to see what they can show. I think it's a big chance for Matt Turner to just grab that starting goalkeeper spot with both of his hands, literally.
Yep.
So that's another thing you want to keep an eye out for, and maybe the wild card here is a Johnny Cardozo, right? Coming in for Musa, who you would say was part of that nucleus of like definite guys on the roster in the lineup, and I still think he is. Obviously, he's a little bit injured right now, but big for him. And I think the last spot I think that's important is for Aaron Long to show well and really solidify that spot. I think it's his to lose next to Walker Zimmerman. But I think it's important for him to play really well. And how ironic is that? Because he lost his spot to Miles Robinson because of injury and now gains it back because of Miles Robinson's injury. So I think it's big for him to play well too. So I think those for me are the biggest things I'm going to be looking out for. And you're always interested to see the lineup and you want to try to look ahead and figure out what Berhalter's going to have his team look like come late November. But I think those for me are the most intriguing ones.
Heart of hearts, who do you pair with Walker Zimmerman?
Long.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think again, because they want to be a pressing team and he's in a pressing style. He's used to putting out all those fires and it's tough to be a Red Bulls center back because again, they're throwing all their numbers forward, right? So you can get hit on a counter really quick, and if you don't win that first header, you're in trouble. So I think he's performed well for club and for country when he's been in there. Again, if not for injury, he probably still would have had that spot. No disrespect to Miles Robinson. So I think he'll have that spot. I don't there's other guys, Chris Richard. I think it's his. I think it's Aaron Long's to take. I don't think there's many lineup for me. I don't think there's many lineup decisions really, except for probably the number 9. And even there, I think it's Ferreira's to lose too.
All right, time for the promo. What are you writing? What are you doing? Who's your high school game this weekend?
High school game is Massapequa at Freeport, which is Big Boy Nassau County football Friday night out at Freeport High School. So that should be a fun one. Already got my calls done there. Charts to work on tonight. Don't know what else. I'll actually be on that San Jose LA match on Saturday night, so that should be always fun. The Cali Classico, and on the editing shift again tonight for what are they calling that? The League's Cup Showcase, right? Is that the official name?
Sounds good.
I think I will say this before I go. I think this is going to be good for Cincinnati because they've got high aspirations, and you've heard Pat Noonan speak about it. Even though this is pretty much a meaningless match they're playing tonight, like just to give his team the feel, right? Like he's going to go into the locker room and be like, boys, this is where we want to be. We want to be playing Champions League football, and this is the environment. These are the teams that you want to play against. So I think it'll be a good run out for them during the international break. To me, that's I think the biggest, and I guess Nashville would say the same, right?
Yes.
Like they have the same aspirations as well. Last point before I forget, was not surprised. I know there's been the Brandon Vasquez hype train a little bit going on. Was not surprised he was not included. One, he wasn't part of the setup, right? So to me, you've got to do so much better than the guys who were in the setup already, and he's not.
Yep.
Like he's played well, but then Berhalter saw him in person at Citi Field, the match that I was there against NYCFC, and he got subbed out, having really not done anything, and then he didn't play well in his last match. So I think not having the previous international experience and then just not outperforming, like a Sargent getting hot, I think hurts him. So I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, well, how do you not have Brandon Vasquez part of the camp? Well, that's the reason why, right? This is the last camp before the big games, right? So it's not tinkering time.
No, the body of work is not there for Brandon Vasquez yet.
Right.
And he literally would have to have set the proverbial soccer world on fire to really get into consideration. And you with your empirical evidence, with you and Glenn Crooks on the call, keeping an eye on Brandon Vasquez, and he doesn't do all that well. So, I've got my conference calls, as a matter of fact, after the show is over for high school football. So I'm right there with you on your Wednesdays. Once again, thanks as always for hanging out with us and giving your perspectives. And a lot of folks in the Twitch pitch like to have your conversations, and they like to have conversations with you and such. But
Nice.
Thanks for hanging out for another week. We'll catch up and we'll have some of the matches in hand taken care of. We'll talk about that and get ready for the sprint to the remainder of everything. Dylan, as always, thanks a lot, my friend.
Cheers.
As he is from his blessed mug, Dylan Butler, MLS Soccer, OSDB Sports. Great to have Dylan here on his Wednesdays. And now he's going to go study a lot of different things like me. He's going to be studying high school football. He's going to be studying the soccer. He's going to be busy with the Leagues Cup Showcase. We went through those juice boxes a little early on. Great points. That if you right now are chasing the playoffs, you want to have matches where you're going up against quality competition. And so, definitely going to be there for TQL tonight and Cincinnati and their match and Nashville and their match shortly thereafter at 9:00. So Leagues Cup Showcase. I think it was moved to the 4-letter on ESPN. And it'll be on, I think, 2NA and Unimas when it comes to your action tonight. So before we go, soccer on TV today. And CBS Sports Network, it is NWSL After Dark with Angel City and Washington. Leagues Cup Showcase is on 2NA. The early game is also on Unimas. The late game is also on Univision. ACC Plus has soccer. ESPN Plus has the Leagues Cup Showcase as well there. College men and college women. All 3 matches in the USL Championship. All 2 matches in USL League One. Facebook. B4 Slovenia. B and the number 4 Slovenia has the Slovenia Nations Cup, the U19 men with the USA and Malta at 1:00. Fox Soccer Plus has that international men's friendly I was talking about. San Marino and the Seychelles. You really have to put everything aside when those 2 teams play. Fubo Sports Network has Nations League with Scotland and Ukraine at 2:45. Paramount Plus has the 3 matches in the NWSL, the 2 at 7 and the 1 at 10. VIX has the Revelations Cup, the U20 men. USA Peru is at 5:10. Mexico Paraguay is at 10:00, and YouTube and DAZN has all of the Champions League games, all 8 of them. 9:30, 11:30. 3 at noon, 1 at 12:30, 1 at 1, and 1 at 2:30. So that is your rundown of everything on TV. Get your subscriptions all paid up and in full. fntz.co/soccer down here if you want to join in on the fun at Fanatis and catch up with everything in Central and South America and BN and Gold TV and all the networks that they have there. So once again, Australia, New Zealand, 6 a.m. tomorrow, Atlanta time. I will be probably awake for the final 20 minutes. So, and then taking the real boss of the house, Rowdy Dog, right there. He's under the table. He's under table number 2. So he will be dictating what my viewing habits will be when we come back for the Power Hour tomorrow. Later today, coming up in short order, interview with Philip Goodrum from Memphis 901 FC. That was a fun one to do yesterday as they're getting ready for their game against Lou City on Friday night football and USL Championship. So it's great to catch up with him as he's chasing after the Golden Boot. Second in the Golden Boot race to Milan Olaski from Orange County. And then tomorrow, once again, it's a Power Hour. Bart Keeler coming on at 9:30 to break everything down from his perspective for a half hour. Could be MLS, could be U22, under 22, could be the men's national team. I imagine we're going to be spending a lot of time on the men's national team. Don't forget to send your questions in for that. Thursdays with Nico around 5:00 Eastern time. That'll be live on the network, and that'll be also available on your podcatchers later on. And then Friday probably might end up being a bit of a pseudo watch-along with the game starting at 8:25, us starting at 9:00. And I think what we're going to do, we're chasing a special guest. We'll see if it happens. And we might give our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring the week off because we are in an international window, and they're probably going to want to watch the USA and Japan match as well. So we'll keep them posted. And so Friday might be a bit of a power hour as well when it comes to everything going on here at SDH. So that's the remainder of your week. And once again, thanks to Jarrett for hanging on. And then thanks to Dylan Butler for his standard Wednesday visit where it's Wednesdays with Dylan. We get to have fun with Dylan Butler as always, and talk about a variety of things on a Wall Pass Wednesday. So once again, thanks to all of you for hanging out and putting up with my technological skills and everything else that has been going on today. So have a good day, everybody. We'll catch up with you for the Power Hour tomorrow. And since it is the end of the show, mucha plata, y'all. That means I get to do this.